What's up, guys? Today we're going to be replacing the heat sensor in the Sportsman 450. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so in one of my previous videos I showed you guys that the heat sensor on this thing has been ripped off. So, I bought this from a friend and he's never fixed it, but here's the heat sensor. The wires are actually gone, so I bought a new one, as you can see right here, with the new cable on it. The only issue with this cable is the other end of this is supposed to be right there. So we're gonna have to solder a new wire on here, a new connector, and for that I got this right here. I went to AutoZone and I found this Hopkins flat 2-pin flat connector, and I was really hoping that this connector would fit perfectly on here, but unfortunately it does not. The bulb on this male one here is too fat for this female connector. So what I'm going to do is cut off this wire, and since this has two bulbs on it, I'm going to solder one of these ends to the wires up there, right there, and the other end to this wire, and then I'll be able to screw this in, connect it, and the heat sensor that's up here, when you turn the key, will be gone. Super excited about that because that is really annoying anytime I try to turn the ignition on and for any reason that thing pops up. So we're going to get into that. First step, I'm going to go ahead and remove this old plug. I'm not sure what size it is, but we're going to figure it out. And then we're going to go ahead and start cutting the wires on these. Okay guys, so this heat sensor looks like it's going to be a 11/16, and because the wire's already ripped off, I can just slip a socket right over it and take it off that way. Now, because I've already done this, I know that there is probably not going to be any coolant coming out of this because I've already done this and the coolant spilled out everywhere. And because I didn't realize that. So, oh yeah, there is still a bunch of coolant in there. So we are going to stick a drain pan underneath this. So make sure you stick a drain pan underneath this and catch all the coolant as it's pouring out. Okay, let's try this again and hopefully my drain pan catches it. Caught most of it. Okay, so what we want to do is just make sure we compare both of these, make sure they look exactly the same. They look pretty similar. Actually, the new one looks a little smaller in length, so we're going to make sure it actually fits on here and screws in properly. Yep, it fits right in there. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and solder these new connectors on here. We're going to want to make sure measurements. So this connector's like this. This one up here, now unfortunately I put all my plastics back on, and it's going to be kind of a pain to get to these wires up here because they're hidden by this belt vent, which really sucks because trying to solder this is not going to be easy. So I may have to pull that vent. I really don't want to, but I may end up having to. We're going to try not to. And in that case, we're just going to cut off an end of this wire here, probably like that much, strip it, and try to solder it on there without having to take anything else off. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and do this one first since it'll be so easy. Just go ahead and cut the connector off, cut these wires at a good point so we can strip them like so. We're going to twist these up. Now we're going to cut this one. Now I'm not sure which way these wires go, if it's really going to matter. So we're just going to send it. Just like that, the first wire soldered. Now we're going to do the second one. Alright guys, there's both wires soldered on this connector. Both wires soldered on this connector. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap some black tape around them. Unfortunately, if I had some shrink wrap, it'd be a lot better, but I don't have any, so black tape is what it's going to be. Electrical tape. I don't know why I call it black tape, but I do. Wish I had shrink wrap, but I don't. Okay, so there's the two wires after they've taped them up. I'm going to go ahead and actually tape up this entire thing. That way it just stays connected and not separated. It's not super pretty, but it'll work, and hopefully it's going to shut that engine light off. Okay, it's not super pretty, but it works. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my new heat sensor in and figure out which way I need to wire this other wire. Okay, I'm going to screw this thing in here, hand tight as far as I can get it. And then I'm going to get a wrench and screw it in the rest of the way. Not sure how tight to get it yet. Okay, so actually I just figured out which way it goes. I need to put that one to that one, and that one to that one. So the short one goes to the male side, is what it seems. So now, I know not the short one, the male, the short wire goes to the male side, which means the short one will go to the female side on this connector. So now comes the hard part. Don't know if I'm going to be able to show this because I don't know if I have a good enough angle, but I'm going to have to somehow solder this connector like this here. I'm going to pop it on, and I'm going to solder this connector to these two wires. I need to make sure it's not super long either, because if it's long it can get hung up and stuff, and I don't want that. Alright, let's try to figure this out. Okay, so what I did was I kind of like pre-soldered this wire and then had a bunch of solder on it and heated it up while it was up here and tapped it to that wire, and it kind of connected to it. I mean, there could probably be more solder on it, but I might try to add more actually here in a minute. But for right now, that actually seemed to have worked. I might try to add more solder to it. I messed up and didn't make this wire shorter. It's too long, so when I do this, it's going to kind of be at an awkward length. So I'm going to try to cut that one a little bit and solder it on there the same exact way. And black electrical tape them up, tighten this thing up, and then connect it, and it should be good to go. Okay, so I did the same exact thing with this wire. Now I'm just going to go ahead and wrap electrical tape around each connection, then around each thing. I should be able to plug it up and turn the key on, and it should work. Okay, so I don't know how tight to actually tighten this thing. I couldn't find anywhere on it, so I just did it as hand tight as I could. Or not as hand tight, I used a wrench, sorry. I tightened it with this wrench with my hands as tight as I could get it back here. There's not a lot of leverage, so I just did it, like I said, as tight as I could. So what I'm going to do now is take a zip tie and zip tie this piece up here because it's kind of long. That way it's not dangling way out over here. I just zip tie it up like that. But now when I turn the key on, the hot engine light doesn't come on. But there is still a flashing check engine light. So, actually it's gone now. But if we filter through this thing, you can see it has 206 hours. The time is not set. It's got 1,686 miles. I don't think I did too bad of a job on this thing at $1,500 and only 1,600 miles on this thing. We will need to add coolant. I forgot about that. So, if you look down here, this thing is pretty low. So what I'm going to do is actually take this thing off because there's gunk in the bottom of it and dump it out and then refill back up at the top. And I might flush this stuff out actually because who knows when the last time this fluid's been flushed out. Alright guys, so I'm probably going to call that quits. On the next video, I'll show you guys how to do a coolant flush. But for now, we're going to call it good. If you like this kind of stuff, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this and follow this Polaris build. And thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below if you've had any issues with your heat sensor or anything like that in your Polaris. Alright guys, Have a good day. Peace.